Good morning, Al 60 Diesels. Right, first Wednesday fixie video, and as you will see, I am leaning against my recently acquired Peugeot 309 1.7 turbo. It's a XRDT. Hang on a minute. GRD Turbo. So 1991 on a J, 2 owners from new, last one for like 26-28 years. It's in really good nick, apart from it needs a few minor structural repairs, bit of tidying up on two that have been done previously, and in standard Peugeot fashion, I'll go around here and demonstrate. We have suspension on this side, but the seat's back axle stub that side. So I've got all the parts ordered. So what I'm going to do now is we'll get it up on the ramp in front of us. We'll have a quick tour of it beforehand. So we're going to have a look under the bonnet. I'll give you like a walk round tour, top quality machine. And then we'll, as I say, get it up on the ramp and start getting on, stripping the back axle, and we'll have a look at the rust. Right, so we start with the under bonnety bit. So here we go. 1.7, so the predecessor to the 1.9. Diesel 4-pot turbo Peugeot engine. Has some upsides. Mechanical fuel pump that looks like it's been fairly recently overhauled. It's lovely and shiny, no spindle leakage like they always used to do. I've got some exciting fuel adaptions going on here. There should be a hand primer bowl with like a round Lucas type filter on it here, and comes across. I've managed to buy that brand new old stock, so we need to sort that out. I'm going to need to attend. I've got no cam belt history, and for the sake of doing it, I've got a belt kit. It's out here already. One of the things I'd like to do, I've got a bit of exciting patch weldage going on here, so I'm having that off because I want to see what's underneath it. But I mean, she's pretty square up here, so we creep round this side. So we look at the interior. So, oh, that's going to need sorting out. That was always standard Peugeot. So basically, the pin in the door wears there and clacks. That's annoying. Into the 90s, baby. So, got some really quite nice, clean, sort of velour-y brown seats. Some sort of nice 70s. Well, it's not 70s, it's 90s brown door cards. As we are, let me climb in here. We are GRD, so we have covered dead on 140,000 miles. We've got a few old boy fixes going on here. So Gerald before us put these latches used to break the springs gone in it. So we need to attend to that because I don't think I'm going to be dealing with the top quality. I'm going to leave that a minute. Top quality brass latch, and then we've also got some more strange sort of add-ons going on here, so we're going to have all this off, sort it all out. I mean, but she is pretty square. We've got a sort of mid-2000s JVC stereo, but like things like the digital clock work. I mean, the seats, the door cards are really tidy. We've got a bit of mould to sort out there where she's been parked up. Windy windows, no electronics to go wrong there. The boot's unlocked. No, the boot is locked. So we creep round this side. So as you say, passenger side, door cards are nice and clean. Seat's good. We've got a bit of free floating padding that should be under the dash just there. And same again, I've got some back seats that look like they've never been sat in. We've got a few bits of rust to attend to, so we've got a bit of old boy repair work going on there, not in the same colour, that'll want doing. And then the main bits are in the bottom of the sills down here. I'll show you them in a minute. So original, well, these alley wheels are standard to the car. We've got 5 of them, but they are what you would know as a 1.6 205 GTI alloy wheel. That's what they were fitted to standard. Got the posh option of the big sliding sunroof. We've even still got, I've got 2 of these. We've got the 2 original tiny little Peugeot keys. So if I just open the boot a minute, like that. I don't expect the gas rams are going to be any good. Oh, they are. A little bit of dampness, and the gas rams are rubbish. So things I want to get to. I'm going to need a broom. Let me just go and find something to prop that up with. That's looking favourite. So that back open again. Set it on me head. I'm going to need to get some gas rounds for the tailgate. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? Come on, Peugeot. That'll work. That's perfect. It's a fuel can in a bag. I need that. Second-hand lunches, and that was me when I picked it up. So basically, in the boot, the bits I want to attend to is we've had some exciting welding in there just to check that's good quality. Both sides. So another bit doesn't look too badly done. Been amazing. So this car's been parked forever, but the boot light still works. And so then the main thing is this suspension on this side. So these back axles are 2 torsion bars. We've got an arm and a pivot either side, and this bearing pivot this side is absolutely seized solid. So I've got all the bits sat here for that. So what we're going to do now is we'll whiz her forwards, put her on a ramp, lift her up. Right, so as you can see, we're now up in the air. Now the main issue will be fairly apparent to anyone with a mechanical mind. This is the main mechanical issue, apart from a couple of bits of welding, which isn't a mechanical issue, that's a structural one. You just drink your tea, put it down in tea, coffee. So this is where the problem lies. Obviously this side, torsion bar axle, movey, springy. Car is off the ground. This is fully to its stop. So on these you have a big trailing arm, I suppose you could call it. It's got a bearing and a pin that comes through, and then it's got a torsion bar on the back of the axle up here going over to the other side. So the actual springing is done with a torsioned spring steel bar. As you will see, that this side is about that much further up than that side, and there is no movement on this side. I mean, that should be down here. So basically, this pivot here is C-solid, and we've tried everything to try and free it off. You can make it move with a big bar, but it's basically had its day. So what I need to do is to take this wheel off, remove. I have to just quickly with the brakes and the back plate off, swing that down here out of the way, and I need to get this arm off. So I've got a torsion bar coming in here. We'll bring you in a minute for a better look, and then there's an annoying axle cap that has to come off at the end here to allow you to get to the bits to unscrew it, to take it off, which is going to be fun because I don't think it's going to want to budge. And then in theory, once we've done this side is fine. I mean, there is no real lift or play or wobble, and these Peugeots used to list when they were actually, the bearings were worn out. You see them go along the wheels like this. It was still fairly common thing on Peugeot 206s, were renowned for it. Same axle setups, a 205, 206. 106s had them, and they used to do back axles they used to wear, and the wheels used to lean, failed MOT. So this one obviously is not MOTable because that's the solid and we've got no suspension, and it drives fairly horrifically because of this. We've tried everything, boot full of patio slabs, that didn't make it bounce free. It is stuck. So I'm going to get this wheel off and we'll lower her down a bit, bring you in for a slightly closer. Right, now as you've seen, I just whipped the wheels off. You can quite obviously see that the spindle is C-solid. So if you look at the gap on that side with the car off the ground, and then the gap on this side. So basically it's this pivot in here that's absolutely C-solid. Now rust issue wise, we've got to attend to. We've got a big hole here. It's going to need fixing, and we are a little bit sort of in here. So while I'm at it, I'm going to quickly pop this filler neck out and just sort all this. And it's been welded on the inside of the boot before, which I don't particularly like, and you can see here. So we need to quickly remove the back bumper. I'll make my decisions on obviously this structural rust here in the corner in a minute. And then this side is a little bit worse. So we're holed up in here. Unbelievably, the sill is perfect. So you can see that we've got a bit of underseal to remove, and we'll get in here. So we got some holes here. We've got a hole in here, but the actual inner structure is good. A bit of self-lightening going on there because this should come across here. This bit's fell out. And then up in here, we're very crispy. So I think the best bet is I want to keep this vehicle for myself is to say, whaps a bumper off, and we'll get the bumper out of the way. Right, so as you would have seen, I have removed spare wheel, removed the exhaust. Well, I forgot to film that. Plastic carrier that covers the fuel tank, and I've just whizzed around here, pulled the hub off. I actually have to go and find our aging hub extraction tool. So, Peugeot brake hub bearing built in. The hub and the drum are one piece, so if you wear your brake drum out to get a whole hub, that's fine. Not that I need that. So basically, 4 bolts. Female torque bolts holding this hub on, so that allows me to quickly pop this off, this back plate, swing it out the way, slightly dangling on a brake hose, but they're on there for a minute. So basically what we've got to try and do now is get this off. So there you go, that's your anti-roll bar link through to the other side, that's out. So as I say, down to removing this stuck torque bolt just there, which is going to be fun. So the best idea I could come up for cleaning this round here is needle descaling gun, and I'm going to sit here and chisel all the rubbish out of here a minute, and then I don't really want to warm it because it's a torque bar, but if I have to, I have to, because if I can't get that out, we ain't going nowhere. Right, so we got, as you'll see a second ago, we've got the torque bar nut out the other end there, boy, beating on it a bit. So what we've got to do now is, this is the shock bolt. Just a bit of underseal falling off there, and we lubed it earlier. Get swinging on that to remove the shock absorber. We don't like that, but I might replace that anyway. Can we get that? So shock absorber bolt off. That's obviously the mount that holds the flexible to the solid brake pipe, which we might tidy up anyway. So basically, that in theory frees that shock absorber, and what we've got to try and do now is knock this seized swinging arm that away. Right, so quick explanation. Obviously, this is the driver's side swinging arm, the suspension that isn't seized solid. So I'll explain exactly quite how this works before I obviously batter it to pieces and take it out on this side. Then you'll know exactly what I'm doing. So basically, it's a fairly simple suspension setup on one of these. Obviously, you've got your shock absorber bolted here, and I've got half the other side pulled out, but this is a torque. So we've got a torque bar behind here, fixed over there, and bolted into the swinging section of this rear trailing arm here. So you'll see this obviously moves, and so that sprung steel bar is actually your rear suspension, like your spring. So that's what holds the back of the car up, absorbs the bumps. And there's a big pin in here that's about sort of that long that is bashed into this hub, goes into this axle tube here. Now there's a bearing here and there's a bearing there, so that whole pin rolls and turns with this stub end. So if I was taking this stub end off, we loosen the torque tube, torque bar bolt. There's one that end holding onto it, and there's a little stub screw this side. Take this shock absorber mount off, remove this back plate, give it a quick clout, and because this one's free, I might do this one as well while I'm here. This one will slide out with a big pin and leave me 2 bearings. There's a seal in here and a plate and some other bits. You can change it. The problem comes the other side, that what has happened is this bearing here, by the look of it, has collapsed, which is fairly common Peugeot, because obviously that's taking all the weight, those two. So on, there's two little sort of bearings there taking all the weight of the suspension roaring up and down, and it's collapsed and either wedged up, C-solid, tore out. So basically the pin on that side is frozen solid. The pin, you know, do that anymore. That's solid. It'll move just by basically beating. I mean, if you drop half a ton in the back of it, it'll sit on the floor, but the pin is frozen in that side of the axle. So what we're going to do is obviously we'll have to try and remove this arm, knock it out. I expect what will happen is the arm will come away. We're going to have to heat on it and beat on it, leaving the pin stuck in here. And then basically we'll have to try and knock the pin out. I reckon I can probably do it with this side, from this side as far as I remember, with a very long piece of hard steel bar. Knock the pin out that way to get it out, to replace the necessary bits and bobs that we need to do it. So we'll make a bit of a good start on that now. But obviously this is the passenger side, driver's side, sorry, because there's no point showing you the passenger side one because he's C-solid and he doesn't move. As you'll see, I've just knocked the outer. There's like a dust cover and a little metal ring that goes around here, which we have new with the new kit. And as you'll now see, you can see the degree of basically the bearings have completely collapsed. This pin should be sat there, and has sort of gone like that and wedged itself in. And I mean, hopefully up here it hasn't worn the axle casing too badly that it can't take a new pin and new set of bearings. So what we've now got to try and do is beat the hell out of this to try and knock it free, and then it's got to come out here. I mean, you can see bits of, I needle gunned it a minute ago, knocked the rust out, but you can see how bad the bushing was. I move you in slightly so you're there, and you'll actually see that the whole thing has collapsed into the upper housing. It's touching there, and there's got a big gap here. There should be as I say, there's a little round bearing in here. I'll show you the new pin and the new bearings in a sec, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, we've got to try and extract that. There you go. Basically, this is your new pin. I'll just whip over here. It comes with other bits and bobs. So basically, it's got, you'll have seen me bash it out a minute ago. That's the outer dust seal, sits that end, and it's got a holder ring that goes around the end of the axle stub, like so. So that's obviously nicely positioned there, and these are the two bearings, so we sort of roughly position them. So basically this one has collapsed and we're assuming that one's bought it, so we need to get this is the new pin, but we need to get the old pin out. So basically that pin sits in here, and then you have the bearing there, look, so he would sit there, and then you have another bearing on this end there, and they pivot on those. And they're just little needle roller bearings. So these are the new ones. I'm trying not to get them too full of gook. And then obviously a new pin because the pin's going to be damaged. Sort of, obviously that's the arm we took out a minute ago. Beating on it. I don't know. I don't even know where it's moved. Just go back in, it just doesn't want to come out. Right, 4 hours later. Oh, honestly, I can't believe I've been beating that for that long. I mean, literally, something that's supposed to pivot can be so well stuck in an axle tube. I do not know. Anyway, that's that out of there then, isn't it? Right, so after 4 or 5 hours with a very large bar and sledgehammer beating this shaft that's now missing from the other side, it finally came out. So what I've got to try and do now, I've been cleaning, obviously we've got a fair bit of wear on the outer edge here. You can see where the stub shaft had pushed up against the outer. I think there's enough metal with the die grinder to clean in here to run the inner bearings. I'm not terribly worried about that because the dust seal should cover that lump. We'll see what that works out like. And obviously I'll bring you in a minute, but I've got to try and get the inner bearing out. So I'll show you that in a minute, and then we'll see if we can beat that out, clean it up, and put some new ones in. So as you can see, the slight wear lip on the top there, but I think there is enough metal left. So that's where the outer bearing will sit with the dust seal on the outside of it. And if you can see inside this, I've hit it a bit, but in there is the inner. We managed to break the race, so I've got to try and get that inner bearing out of here. I found an old cylinder honing tool that was partly knackered, which I'll put. It's over there on the bench, on a lorry. So basically, we got one of these that had broke a stone, and I decided that that was probably the best way to get the gook out of it. And then obviously I've got to put, that's the inner, that's the outer, so I've got to extract the remnants of this, which is the, well, not this one, the old one out the inside. Then that's the one on the outside. So I'm going to keep bashing away with a long bar and see if I can punt that bearing collar out of here. Once we got that, we're away and we can start putting it back together again. Right, and that's the inner bearing collar out. So basically what you need for this job is to make yourself the world's longest chisel out of a bit of steel bar, grind at it a bit on the inside, or hack at it a bit with a rip saw, and then keep beating at it both ways. Once you flipped it over, then you can knock it out. So I'll finish cleaning this tube up, and then we'll start fitting some new bits. Right, so new bearing. We're going to give it a bit of extra greasy just to make sure that she's pucker. And then if we grease the outside of it, get absolutely covered in smooth. And then that needs to be knocked a certain distance down this here tube. I gently stick that in there. And then what I have worked out, once I've degreased myself, this lump of scaffold tube is perfect as a drift to knock said small bearing in here back on its seat without damaging it. Nice and gently does it, because I think it's got to go in about sort of to there basically. I reckon it might do it. So obviously this is the new pin. So yeah, I might need to go in a little bit more. I can always, it's quite difficult to gauge it. Yeah, I reckon that's got it. That'll do. Right. So what I need to do now is put the outer bearing in and then attach this to a stub shaft. I'm assuming that goes in there. Right, so nylon spacer thingy. It can sit in there. That's fine. And basically we got this. So we'll do the same here again. Covered in schmoo. Make sure this is greased to death. And then see what the fitment's like for that in the end of there. I don't reckon it's going to be too bad. No, I think that'll be alright. Gentle tappage. Gentle. To damage the outer racer. Collar of my bearing. Is that going to go in there? Yep, go back another 40mm big socket. Right, now I'd have said that was in there. Go on the inside one. Yeah, that'll work. So, need to put one of these on round here, like so, and then obviously you've got your big bashed in dust seal on the end there. So what I'm going to have to do now is work out how much hub I need. I've got my bearings in the right place, and in theory she should be minty. So what I've quickly done is obviously pressed new pin into housing, so that's all run up the edge here, same as the one this side, and then I've got to get this dust seal up though I'm assuming without completely mumming it. So we'll put that there, and we're going to find something to sort of it'll run on its Jones. It ain't far off, bit of lube and that'll go. Well, dust seal out of fitted. Dust seal, I'm not quite sure which way around it's supposed to go. I think this is on the inside, but to be honest, anything's better than nothing. So what we've got to do now is put this whole assembly back in the car. Obviously we've got to line the torsion bar up, get them so they're about even, so that it doesn't list to one side. And I will grease this that way, but I'm going to clean and grease this splined end to death, so that if it ever needs to come out again, we don't have any trouble. So hopefully, right, we're back over there. Right, so big assembly built up. What I've got to try and do is get this back in here. So we're assuming the lowest point this torsion bar can be is about there. And then obviously we've got to get that bearing to go in there. And then we've got a splined receiver for the torsion bar on the other side, about there. So that's the bearing in. I'm just going to go pop here. Pop that in where I need it to be. And then try and wiggle that in and get that in at the same time. Much easier if the torsion bar came out, but it doesn't seem to want to play that game. So, bit of tappage needed, I reckon. There's my technical adjusting device. So, technical adjusting device. Torch over here. Right, so that's that, all fitted. Torsion bars are both sat on their stops either side. The arms measure up about level. This went in really nicely. We did have to tap on it a little bit because obviously it got track it back in there, but we're free. We've got bearings and we now have suspension this side. So what I'm going to do quickly now is throw it all back together. So I'll time lapse that bit because you'll see me take it apart. It's just the reverse. So I'm going to slot, where is she? So we need, first off, obviously, this is my, ooh, see if you can get it to go through there. That's my anti-roll bar. Need to link that to both sides. We'll just tuck one in there, grease. Actually, let's make sure we grease everything nicely before we put it back together. So put some grease around there. She can go in, and then we need to do the same on the other side so they match up. I've got to put the brake back plate back on. Shock absorber, which is dangling here. And we'll quickly whip the brakes, the hub back on, lower it down, see what it sits like. Right, as you will see, we now have suspension, equal height. Can't see this side, but I can. Equal height this side. I'm going to leave this one here now, one because I've got to get on and do some other work. But what we're going to do next time, I know I'll put the wheels back on, but I am going to take the back axle out of it. This is only purely to test if the suspension sits level, which by the look of things she does, and it functions. So next on is back axle out, and then we'll get attending to the rot in the back of it. Right, thank you very much for watching Al 6D Diesels.